guys, my name is Taylor and welcome back to Taylor on TV. So in the last video we talked about Joyride 2, Dead Ahead, and in this video we're going to be talking about Joyride 3, Roadkill. So we're going to be wrapping up this series and I am so happy because I can't take it anymore. I'm so sick of Joyride. This third one, it was a hard watch. I'm not even gonna lie. So for this cast, we have Ken Kersinger as Rusty Nail, and this time I'm actually introducing Rusty Nail because we actually see him on camera a lot more than we ever have in the past two films. So up next we have Jesse Hutch as Jordan, Gian Paolo Venuta as Austin. I know I butchered that name, but he's Austin. Benjamin Hollingsworth as Mickey, Jake Manley as Bobby, Kirsten Zion as Jewel, Leela Savasta as Alyssa, Dean Armstrong as Officer Williams. So I think I covered everyone, but if you haven't noticed, this Joyride movie has more characters than any other Joyride movie, and I wholeheartedly believe it's because they want to up the body count. So more people, more deaths. So I always forget to say, spoilers ahead, I am getting ready to do a full in-depth breakdown of the film Joyride 3, Roadkill. Yeah, this one's Roadkill. I almost said Dead Ahead. Okay, so I'm getting ready to do a full in-depth breakdown of this film. If you're interested in watching it yourself, you could always rent it on Amazon Prime. I think it's also available on YouTube. But if you don't want to watch it, I'm getting ready to tell you what it's about. So without further ado, let's get into a full breakdown of Joyride 3, Roadkill. So the movie begins with some junkies hooking up in a motel room. We're starting off strong. We're starting off very strong. So I believe in the last film, I talked about my theory on low-budget films. I believe that low-budget films always include nudity, because if I can't give you special effects, if I can't give you the cool fight scenes, I'm going to give you something else. Nudity is one of the easiest things to put in film. So for this movie, since it feels very much like a Tubi movie, we're starting off first thing with full frontal nudity. So anyways, we have junkies in a hotel room and they're doing the nasty, and I'm calling them junkies because this girl can't even finish the act without needing another hit. So she stops doing what she's doing and she asks her boyfriend to give her some more chicken feed. I think that's what they called it in the last one, chicken feed. So the boyfriend says that he doesn't have any more chicken feed and he don't have no more money to even get chicken feed. So she's pissed off. She don't even want to do it no more, but he need to figure out how she gonna get some more chicken feed. They come up with this plan and they get on this walkie-talkie. I don't think they ever explain how they got this walkie-talkie, but crackheads have everything. Have y'all noticed that? Like anything you need, a crackhead got it. So the plan is to get a truck driver on the walkie-talkie and to ask him if he has any chicken feed. So the girl gets on the walkie-talkie and she calls out and she is connected to none other than Mr. Rusty Nail. She tells Rusty Nail that her name is Candy, and Rusty Nail starts having flashbacks and he lets her know, I knew a candy cane once. So here's a little callback to the first movie. Remember, we had Candy Cane. Then in the second one we had Goldilocks, and now we have Candy. So Candy asks Rusty Nail if he has any chicken feed, and he says, I don't partake in the chicken feed activities. I'm so sorry. And she says, well, you could still come party with me. So now the plan done changed. So Rusty Nail doesn't have any drugs to supply them. So instead of luring him to the motel to rob him of his drugs, they're now going to lure him to this room and take him for all his money or whatever they can sell off of him. So Rusty Nail agrees to come party with the girl, but this is the one thing that I'm not liking about this movie. So Rusty Nail shows up to the motel and we see him in full daylight. Like, it takes away from his ominous vibes. We can see him from the head to the toe at this point. He's not scary. He's just giving regular old truck driver. I think part of the reason why the first two Joyride movies were a little creepy, especially the first one. First one's very creepy because you don't know who you're dealing with. You don't know what he looks like. You could be in public and he could be over your shoulder anywhere. As we could see in the second one, Rusty Nail was actually in the diner with him and they never knew what he looked like. And us, as the viewers, we don't know what he looks like. We don't know what to be expecting. But now we see Rusty Nail for who he is and we could tell, okay, he doesn't look scary to me. He looks like somebody I'll run into in Walmart in the middle of the night, if I'm being honest. So once Rusty Nail comes to the motel room, he is jumped by Rob, or he attempts to jump him, but I mean, We all know that Rusty Nail doesn't play. He does not like anybody deceiving him. Do not play with Rusty Nail, okay? Because they tried to play with Rusty Nail, the next time we see them, they are in front of Rusty Nail's big rig truck. Rusty Nail is giving them a chance to redeem themselves or a chance to earn forgiveness. He says that he's going to strap them to the front of his big rig, and if they can hold on for a mile, he'll let them go. And, you know, no harm, no foul. Everything is cool. But the gag is they are going to be chained together, and that chain is going to be tied to the bottom of the truck. I think it's like looped around the axle of the truck. So if either one of them slips, it's going to mess them up and pull them under the bottom of the truck. Rusty Nail decides to up the stakes. He decides to throw in a little baggie of white powder. He tells them if they can hold on for this mile, they'll also get this little bag of white powder. He tapes the baggie of white powder to the windshield and tells them, do not reach for this powder before you hit a mile. If you reach for the powder before a mile, you lose. So whatever you do, hold on for the mile and don't reach for the drugs until I stop. So once Rusty Nail starts driving, they actually do make it for the full mile. And Rusty Nail congratulates them and says, you made it. A deal's a deal. But remember, Candy is a junkie. And she actually reaches for the Ziploc baggie before Rusty Nail stops the truck. So as she's reaching, it causes both of them to lose their balance. The chain gets tangled up in the axle and pulls them under the truck, and they become roadkill. Thus the name Joyride 3, Roadkill. So in the next scene, we meet our core group, and there is quite a few of them. And they are actually a race car team. I think that's very different. How'd you come up with that? I don't know. They are a race car team, and they're working on a brand new race car, and they're getting ready to head out to travel across the country in order to do their first race. After we are briefly introduced to them, we jump to a police crime scene where the police are investigating the couple that we just saw become roadkill. They are trying to write this off as some sort of accident, but one of the main police officers isn't buying it. He's saying that this is so obviously a murder because how does something like this happen to two people in the middle of the road? That's something else they decided to do differently with this film. They decided to include the police because where are the police during all these horrible murders? Like, it's crazy, right? So we are back with our group at a diner, and they are served by a waitress, and immediately I'm like, is that Large Marge? So Large Marge is actually a truck driver on Pee-wee Herman's Great Big Adventure. That's one of my favorite movies. It's so random that they included her in this movie, but it's also fitting because it's a movie about a truck driver. So if you've never seen Pee-wee Herman's Great Big Adventure, Pee-wee is hitchhiking across the country, and he actually gets a ride with a trucker. Her name is Large Marge. She tells Pee-wee to tell the diner that Large Marge sent you. You know, tell him that Large Marge gave you a ride up here. And when he gets to the diner, he tells everyone that, and people are like, Large Marge has been dead for a long time. So the plot twist is that Pee-wee has been in a truck with a dead trucker. So it's so interesting that they included this in the film. One of the guys in the group actually does call it out, and he's asking his friends, like, was that just Large Marge from Pee-wee's Great Big Adventure? And the rest of the group has no idea what he's talking about. So in the next scene, the group is discussing taking a route that is no longer available on GPS, but they can see the route on a map. Now, this route is going to get them to Canada a lot quicker. I'm not sure if I brought it up or not, but they're actually on their way to a race that's in Canada. They can see this route on a physical map, but it's just not coming up on their GPS. They decide to stop and ask someone in the diner, you know, someone who looks like they might be a trucker or a local, if this route still exists. So they walk up on this guy in the diner and they ask him about the route, but he starts tripping out, like, real bad. So this weird guy starts expressing that strange things happen on that strip of road. People lose signals, people's technology stops working, people disappear. And a police officer is actually walking in at that time, and they're saying, pay him no mind, everything is fine. He's overreacting as usual. So when the officer is like, pay this man no mind, he actually freaks out on the officer, and I don't know why this is so funny to me.
Barry here has a flair for the dramatic. Pay no attention to him.
Then why don't you tell him what you were doing after this morning, Chris?
But the guys are kind of on the fence, like, who do I believe? And it's not until this guy starts talking about aliens. He thinks that there are aliens on that strip of road that block signals and kill people. And he says a lot of stuff, but basically he discredits himself. And so the group feels like that route is okay to take now. So our group decides to set out. Originally, when they pulled up to the diner, they were all crammed into one SUV and they were towing their race car. But since this strip of road is going to be pretty empty, they decided that they want to test drive the race car. So in the SUV, we have Bobby and Mickey. But in the race car, we have Austin, Jordan, Jewel, and Alyssa. As they set out on this back road, Austin and Jordan are in the race car arguing about who's the better driver. Now, Austin is currently driving, but he's driving like a jerk. So he actually pulls up on this 18-wheeler and he starts doing some outlandish stuff. And the stunt that he pulls is so outlandish that they make him pull over and get into the passenger seat. And now Jordan is the driver. So when I first saw this, I started, putting together what was about to happen. They messed with Rusty Nail in the race car, and then they got so far ahead of him, switched drivers, to the point where when Rusty Nail pulls back up on them, he's going to think that Jordan is the one to blame. He's going to think Jordan was the one that did all these stunts. So I thought that's what was going to happen, but they really didn't. They didn't take it there. They didn't blame Jordan the way I thought they would. He kind of pretty much has smoke for everybody equally, which I don't think is fair at all because, baby, I'm in the back seat. Why are you mad at me? If I was Jewel or Alyssa, Mr. Rusty Nail, I had nothing to do with that. That is actually unfair now that I'm thinking about it. So we now have our SUV and our race car. They caught up with each other and they're, having fun, having a great time up until Rusty Nail pull up on that bumper. So Rusty Nail catches up to both of them and we have like this kind of three-way fight scene with cars. I don't know how else to explain it. So since the SUV and the race car are together, they team up and they swerve on Rusty Nail so bad that they make him jackknife in the middle of the road. So Jewel is one of the people in the race car. She feels very bad about what they did to Rusty Nail. And, the boys are kind of like, trucks jackknife all the time. It's not that big of a deal. Let's just keep it pushing. He'll be all right. They say everything will be fine until we get to see Rusty Nail's POV quite a bit in this movie. And we get to see that he has a laptop, a camera, all types of equipment in this truck. This movie did take place in 2014, so technology had progressed quite a bit since the last film. So I guess they said, let's jack it up. He been to Best Buy. He done tricked out this truck. I wonder if he had a stereo in the dash. I wonder what the woofers was like. I wonder what the bass was hitting on in the truck. I wonder did he, do 18-wheelers have bass in the truck? Like, are you allowed to have radios like that? I've never thought about that. Anyways, Rusty Nail pulls up all their information using their license plate. He has a whole system in place to find people. So Rusty Nail gets in contact with them over the CB radio and he lets them know that y'all are about to pay for everything that you did to me. Y'all not about to make it to this race car convention or whatever y'all. Ain't no racing happening, okay? That's what he told them. He has all of their information, first, last name, address. He got it all from the plates. So this rightfully does scare the group, but Jordan tries to keep everyone calm and he says, we'll be in Canada in a few miles, just keep it cool, relax. He's not going to do anything. He's just all talk. Personally, if I was one of the girls in the backseat, I think I would be very terrified, but okay. Later that evening, they stop at a gas station. They have a chance to stand around and talk, and Jewel actually decides that she wants to go to the police. Now, this is where things get kind of confusing for me. So, Jewel, the blonde girl, takes Austin, the blonde guy, and they get into the SUV and they drive off together. She says that they're going to go to the police station. Everybody else, y'all go do your thing. But me and Austin, we're going to go to the police. So when I was watching this, I was thinking that Jewel and Austin were a couple. Follow me. So later on in the movie, Jewel is revealed to be dating Jordan. So why did Jewel go with Austin? I was like, okay, maybe Jewel and Austin are brother and sister. But here on IMDb, Jewel's last name is McCall and Austin's last name is Moore. So we really don't get any further information or reasons as to why Jewel and Austin are riding off together if your man is Jordan. That has me greatly confused. But okay. Jewel and Austin get into the SUV and they decide that they're going to drive separately so that they can go to the police station and, we won't hinder anybody else that's in the race car. They can go ahead and get ready for the race and do everything they got to do. Jewel and Austin's SUV tire actually pops and they have to stop and change their tire. I guess this gives Rusty Nail enough time to catch up to everybody. And out of all these Joyride movies, I still think it's so funny that this 18-wheeler can sneak up on people and they don't hear anything, they don't notice. He just cut them lights on and he's there. I think that's so funny. So since our SUV has a spare tire, they can't go as fast as they need to go to get away from Rusty Nail. So they attempt to call out to their group on the CB radio, but our race car group cannot get a signal at the moment. So the man of the diner, although he was a little kooky, he was not lying about that strip of road not having any service. So our SUV group is trying to call our race car group on the CB radio, but since they're in a dead zone, they can't get any messages from our SUV group. So now we have another chase scene between Rusty Nail and our SUV. In these scenes, I don't know why people just don't slam on brakes. So he'll keep going, but then you'll be left behind by yourself. They actually get into a really nasty car accident, and Rusty Nail kidnaps both of them from the crash site. So Rusty Nail then takes Austin and he sticks his hands into this propeller blade somewhere in the front of the engine, thus cutting Austin's hands off. All three of these movies, all three of the Joyrides have been very gruesome, but this one is by far the worst one of the three. So after he puts Austin's hands through the propeller, I think he actually puts Austin's whole head through the propeller after that. So now Austin is gone. Goodbye, Austin. So finally, the race car is in a strip of road where they can receive a signal. And Rusty Nail calls out to them and lets them know that he has their friends. And in order to get them both back, I don't know why he's lying to them that Austin's still alive, but in order to get both of their friends back, he wants the race car. So the group is freaking out and they're like, okay, what do we have to do? Where you want the race car. Rusty Nail gives them instructions to meet him at this warehouse by a certain time. Now, according to where the group is, they will never make it to that warehouse by the designated time. So they turn around and they start burning rubber to get there to meet this deadline. So Rusty Nail has this camera and he's literally vlogging all of this stuff. And he has Jewel record a message for her friends, giving them instructions on what they need to do. Now, if you watch true crime or any kind of crime shows, you should already know that recording messages is red flag. Huge red flag, because why can't I tell them in real time what you want me to record a video for? Red flag. So to me, that's telling me that he's going to get rid of her sooner rather than later. And this actually does come back up later. So keep in mind that he's having her record videos and stuff. So back at the SUV crash site, we have the police officer from the beginning of the movie. He's checking out this site and he's still feeling like these are murders or something is going on. These are not accidents. Some foul play is going on here. So the group goes to the warehouse as instructed by Rusty Nail. They get out and they split up in search of Jewel and Austin. They still think Austin is alive. So while they're split up, Rusty Nail actually kidnaps Bobby. Now we flash to our main officer and he is in hot pursuit to find who wrecked into the side of this truck and who's killing people on this highway because he is so sure that there is a serial killer on the loose. The first 18-wheeler that he sees, he pulls him over and he pulls out the trucker and he does some investigating. He has the trucker open up the back of the truck and there are bloody boxes inside. Now the trucker tries to explain, I was just holding it for a friend, is essentially what he says. He says that he got a call over the CB radio to drive a shipment because this truck driver or this other truck driver couldn't make it. And so he's just trying to help out his fellow truck driver by taking a shipment for him. Turns out in the back of the truck is actually Austin's dead body. So, yeah. The police officer arrests this truck driver, believing that this is Rusty Nail, but we all know this is just a decoy. So now back at the warehouse, after Rusty Nail has kidnapped Bobby, he gets back in his truck and he starts driving around, chasing our group. They're actually on foot trying to outrun an 18-wheeler. Our group eventually makes it back to the car and they get away from the warehouse. Now, they then run into a second police officer and they explain to the officer that their friend has been kidnapped and they need some assistance. So the police officer gets on his radio and he calls out for his partner, the one who has just arrested a truck driver. The partner is so convinced that he already has the guy, but the group is like, no, there's another guy. So there's a lot of confusion and the officer is ready to deal with it. But as he gets in the car to drive away, Rusty Nail's truck literally comes out of nowhere and splits the car in half, like a perfect slice down the middle. Rusty Nail contacts our group again over the CB radio and he lets them know, y'all had me kill a police officer. And because I had to kill a police officer, I'm gonna need a little bit more than that race car. Y'all owe me something else. Rusty Nail puts Bobby on the radio and he allows the group to listen to Bobby being tortured. Rusty Nail put some chains around Bobby's head and just squeezed it. Very graphic, gruesome death, but goodbye, Bobby. After this, Rusty Nail tells Jordan to meet him at the junkyard and give himself up, and then he can get Austin and his girlfriend back. Again, why are we still acting like Austin is here? Austin has been long gone. The race car group is on their way to the junkyard to meet up with Rusty Nail, and Mickey actually makes Jordan pull over, and he takes Alyssa out of the car and tells her, look, let him handle this. Let him get his girlfriend back by himself. Me and you, we're going to walk somewhere else on foot. We don't need to be a part of this danger. And this is where everything started to set in. Like, what is the dynamic of this group? It seems like Mickey and Alyssa are dating, and then Jordan and Jewel were dating. So Mickey is essentially trying to save his girlfriend. And the girlfriend is saying, I can't abandon my friend. I have to go with him to save her. And Mickey actually gives Jordan a pep talk saying, you know, take care of my girl. If anything happens to her, that's on you. So this whole dynamic is so weird. Like, Mickey, you're about to let your girlfriend go into danger. And then even before that, Jordan, why did you let your girlfriend go with Austin? Like, it's so weird. I don't understand what's going on. But anyways, Mickey is walking on foot while Alyssa and Jordan are on their way to save Jewel. But Mickey doesn't make it very far. He gets kidnapped by Rusty Nail immediately. I don't know what it is about Rusty Nail and heads in this movie, but basically Rusty Nail takes Mickey. And you know how you use the tire jack to jack up the car? He puts Mickey's head on that jack and like crushes it. Gruesome. But even scarier than the death is the dummy that they use for this scene. I'm not even going to put it on the screen. It is scary. It's so unsettling. But basically you get to see everything and then they replace the actor with a dummy at some point. The most terrifying thing I've ever seen in my life. We jump back to the police car that got split in half. There are more police presence on that scene. Our main officer now knows the guy that he arrested earlier is not who he's been looking for, because there's no way he could have done this right here if he was in the back of my car. So now all of the police officers are taking this a lot more seriously. They decide to shut down all of the roads. Nobody is going anywhere in this area. Now we have Jordan and Alyssa. They pull up at the junkyard in order to save their friends from Rusty Nail. And Jordan has the idea to send Alyssa to go get some help. So now Jordan is walking on foot through this junkyard. You know how they have the machine that crushes cars? Yeah. He can hear Jewel screaming from inside of a car that's about to be crushed up. So he needs to find a way to stop this machine. But before he can even figure that out, here comes Rusty Nail. Rusty Nail is now doing some hand-to-hand combat in this movie, and he is whooping the mess out of Jordan, okay? And then it don't help. Jewel is in the back of this car screaming like a maniac, like, girl, be quiet. Your man needs to focus because he is losing this fight bad. Like, I don't even think Jordan got a lick in for real, so. So just as Rusty Nail is about to finish Jordan off, the race car comes out of nowhere. It's Alyssa. She did not go get help. She actually stayed behind. She runs over Rusty Nail. Once they get into the car to save Jewel, they discover that it is not Jewel. It is a pre-recorded video. Remember how in the beginning he had her recording stuff? Yeah. This is a pre-recording of Jewel strapped to the top of an 18-wheeler. She's standing on top, and Rusty Nail actually runs the truck under a very low bridge, and this knocks Jewel's head clean off. Now, this video has been pre-recorded and Jewel has been dead for quite some time now. So RIP Jewel. So by the time Alyssa and Jordan turn around, Rusty Nail is no longer laying on the ground. So they have no idea where he went. So they get into their race car with plans of driving off, but they don't get to go anywhere. Rusty Nail has gotten back into his 18-wheeler and he is now slamming into the back of them. So they can't drive off at all. The car is actually about to be crushed, but Jordan gets into a crane machine and he actually crushes the top of the truck. Jordan then takes the claw machine and drops the 18-wheeler into the car crushing device, but I think the truck is a little too big to be crushed up, so instead Jordan takes the claw and smashes down the top of the 18-wheeler, and this is what kills Rusty Nail. So later on, the police show up at this scene, and the police officers want to see who is driving this truck. So they're actually trying to clear the wreckage to see inside. But somehow, Rusty Nail has managed to escape. The truck is empty. So in the next scene, we get to see Rusty Nail, and he is actually hitchhiking, and he hitches a ride with another truck driver, and that is the end of the movie. Now, what would have really set this off for me is if that truck driver would have been Large Marge from Pee Wee Herman's Great Big Adventure, but it's not. It's just some random truck driver. So the way this movie has ended, it seems like there could be room for another sequel, and I hope not. This was not the best film, but it also wasn't the worst. I would never watch it again, ever. And I would never recommend anyone else to watch it. Like, it wasn't that great to me. The plot just wasn't it for me. I don't know. It just seemed very boring. It was hard for me to get through. And then there was just so many characters, and there weren't a lot of distinguishing features between the characters. I could not pick up on who was who. So another thing that I'm not really liking about this film is how they handled the character of Rusty Nail. In the first one, they paint him to be this, emotionally unstable, maybe even mentally unstable person, that they just messed with the wrong person who couldn't handle the joke. And there's nothing scarier than someone who's just unhinged. Someone who just, this was my last straw and now I'm just going to do what I have to do to get my get back. This one makes him seem like he's just some Jigsaw-like person who likes to torture people. And I'm willing to bet from the success of Saw movies, that's where all these sick traps have come from in this film. I could do without it. I just want someone who's mentally unstable. I mean, I don't want anybody who's mentally unstable, but that's the scariest kind of person. Someone who probably wouldn't have done this yesterday, but today it was just my last straw. And that's what the first one gave. This one, it seemed like you do this for fun. Like, you were waiting on somebody to mess with you to do this stuff. So this is the final film in the trilogy, and honestly, I could see them making another one. The way that they reboot everything these days, I would be surprised if there wasn't another Joyride being made. And now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, I can think of several ways to successfully reboot this movie. You know what? I think I'll call it Joyride 4, End of the Road, because it'll be the last one. Call me. That is the end of this video and the end of this Joyride series. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.